In a world of increasing mental health challenges, psychology and faith can both provide tools for healing and wellness. This is the idea behind Journey on My Mind. Each episode, our panel of pastors and therapists sit down together to share their experiences and insights on the modern world's mental health issues: depression, loneliness, aging, addiction, and so much more. Join us now as we explore what it means to thrive at the complex intersection of spirit and psychology.
All right. Well, welcome to A Journey on My Mind. We have a special edition today.
Yeah, we do.
Because it's all Pastor Day. So
And no Dave Day.
no
Very
Dave,
sad.
no
This could
Lauren.
go south.
So
Just-
no one to,
and so no one to
No one to
redirect this
reel us
thing,
in.
right? No
Yeah.
one to say, "Hey, well, in the psychological
Maybe
world,
that's- yeah.
you might want to rethink that." Well, no, but anyway, Dave, you are missed. Lauren, you are missed. But we
Yeah.
invited Susie along for the ride, and part of this podcast for me was instigated by I was at a family reunion, and I was in conversation with some older people, and in those conversations was a lot of fear. And they were talking amongst themselves about, oh, what are they going to do with Social Security? I heard they're going to change Medicare. And there was and I was like listening to that, and they just echoed back to one another their fears. And there was no means by which to interject any kind of resolution to that.
Yeah.
And you could see that it's very troubling. It was very much so.
when you say it, you mean like the echo chamber of
Yeah,
that? Like
it was an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So it was
just,
more than just, it wasn't just affirming or being together in their fear. It was stoking the fear.
Stoking one
yeah,
of those.
it elevated it.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, I
Pouring
heard
gasoline on the fire. So
Yeah.
per
if
se.
you will.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you will.
And so, I sat and talked with a couple of them for a while, and I said, "Hey, let's talk about that a little bit," trying to
Yep.
at least throw a little water on the embers of their angst. But anyway, with that, I thought, we kind of live in an age of a lot of fear,
Yeah.
and we are literally pastoring in an age of fear, and it's stoked in many ways. It's the Bible says rumors of wars and all kinds of stuff are going to happen, and all these things are just part of
Yep.
the existence of humans, and we see them happen, and sometimes we're surprised, sometimes we're not. But I think what's happening, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it, is how do we enter into a season of in which we are finding that a lot of what people are experiencing is a deep fear. And they're responding to it in different ways. And part of also what prompted this conversation, just to be honest with everybody, is I'm doing a sermon on disciplship on Sunday.
Yeah.
And
so we're your sermon prep right now?
no.
we're prep.
No,
Yeah,
already
we're
did the
prep.
prep. You guys are more just.
Or filler.
Actually, I'm looking for an echo chamber.
Oh,
No.
okay.
And what is it that feeds my soul or my heart is reflected in how I live my life. So there's this overflow component of, and if what's feeding my heart causes me anxiety or it causes me fear, it overflows into how I treat people, how I interact
So
with
every day.
Yeah, it changes everything. And I think the biggest indicator that we find in the church is it's causing disunity. It's causing this this chasm per se of we can't find our way back to that center with some people because fear is driving that, both sides of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which side of the chasm you're on.
Yeah.
I think the driving factor is fear. What do you think of that, as I just kind of throw that out as a presupposition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, I agree. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I experience kind of that disruption on a day to day, just as as I sit with people, and it comes from different.
Yeah.
There's different reasons behind that, right? It's
Yeah.
unique for
Yeah.
each, but
But there's things that cause me fear.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we were talking earlier, like I've noticed in my own self, like that there's been fear here, and
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to understand and like process through that. you
Yeah.
know? So yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Susie?
Yeah, I mean, as you opened with pastoring in fear, the first thing that came to mind is I have to address my own fear and name it and care for myself before I'm able to effectively care for anyone else.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that's the hardest part, because like, like you're supposed, I'm told by my therapist and spiritual director and friends that like you should check in with yourself and see like where you're at and where you're coming from before you communicate, whether it's in a like pastoral care situation or even like in a conversation with your spouse or your kids. And that's the step that I often skip, because we were talking earlier before recording about Enneagram numbers, and like as a 3, I value efficiency. So I want to get to the heart of it before I get to my heart of it. So that's been a thing that I've been very aware of lately, and a discipline, if you will, that I've been trying to instill, you know, but acknowledging that I have my own fears before I come into a situation is helpful, because I'm really good in crisis. Like I can show up for you in whatever fear you have, but it will cost me something much more if I don't address my own stuff first. That's good. So I think that's the thing. And I don't know, I have a kid who struggled with a lot of fear when he was young, and when I took him to see a therapist, she would always do this practice with him of walking him through like the worst case scenario. What if that thing is real and that happens, then what will happen? And then what could happen? And then what, and at the end of it, her goal was to always help him see that the worst thing that could happen is not the worst thing that could happen. And that it's possible that God is with you in all of that. That's great. And like that you could see that. And so sometimes like learning how to play out the scenario. It's scary, but can be helpful. So
we had a similar thing with our youngest too. A lot of fear. And it was, for him, it was around thunderstorms, which is interesting. But doing a similar process with his therapist, or counselor.
We broke our kid because he accidentally got to see or saw Lord of the Rings. At too early of an age.
So that was your fault.
And then
okay. Got it, sorry.
Was it the orcs?
Gollum. I'm kidding.
That's creepy.
But we joke about that in our family. But it is his propensity is towards fear, even as an adult.
My precious. Anyway.
That's exactly it.
And now I'm scared.
But the thing that I found is, as I'm pastoring in the midst of a culture that I think is driven by fear, and it's perpetuated through the way that we gather our information, the way that we interact with everything, from the way that we get our information through social media, through story.
It's all designed to be sound bites that incite fear.
Or something. They want you to click on something, so it has to sensationalize something. And so if you don't do the work of what's really behind that, you find yourself in a perpetual state of agitation around that, and it's evident in the way then that I treat other people.
Well, and I think part of it too is there's so much coming at us all the time.
You mentioned this earlier.
Growing up, before internet and all that stuff, we had you had your local newspaper, you had your maybe your state, like Indianapolis Star or whatever, and then you have your news that was local, and then
Sam grew up in Indiana,
by the way. We just got the internet. It's awesome. But so it was obviously what you were getting was it was curated in a sense.
And it was usually a day old. It was usually it wasn't happening in the moment.
And now it's this constant
24 hours
inpouring of just information that then you're required to go, okay, you have to sift that and work, and then what do I do with that?
Well, now we have AI, so we don't even know if
that's
it's
real.
True.
That's true.
And that's again,
even
but it
more
is
confusing.
Right, but it's not just confusing. It is pushing. It's pushing people to find familiarity. If it's true or not doesn't matter anymore. It's to find an arena in which I don't have to be afraid. or the people that I'm with are afraid of the same thing.
Yeah.
And so there is this chasm that grows between us and them, and it's created an artificial but also very real division.
Yeah.
Not just like culturally, but in the church. And the name calling and the whole thing exists within that. So you step into that as a pastor, right? You step into that kind of environment, and you want to apply some of the principles of Jesus to help people navigate this idea of, I get it that you're afraid, but what exactly are you afraid of, and what is it doing to you? In ways that allows people to do a little self-evaluation, to be able to ask the question in a safe environment that allows them to be different, allows them to be afraid, but also says, okay, let's talk about why that is. And then let's talk about it in a culture, in a church culture that says, yeah, we all get it. We're part of the human condition is to be afraid. But the pursuit of the center, the pursuit of Jesus, moves us in a direction that we can not just look for someone to demonize in our fear or become a victim in our fear, but we can actually progress in this walk. And that's, I think, one of the hardest things we have to navigate in today's culture, in today's world, because I think the principalities, and I do believe this, I think there are spiritual forces at play that have, I think, given people brilliant ideas. I know we'll have a 24-hour news network, and we will broadcast news 24 hours on the spot. There won't be like a delay in the news. People will get it in real time, and we'll kill it. And it probably was with great intention that CNN arrived and they said, we're just going to do news. I don't know if they were the first or not.
I don't know who was, but
somebody was.
Whoever it was.
And it seemed like a good idea. And they made money. And
it seemed like a good idea to all of us at the time, probably.
Yeah.
You know, to have
I don't remember if I thought it was a good idea or not.
At the beginning, loved that I could discover all this. I didn't have to, we were joking about, now we're pretty much androids. We all have everything attached. We can get all the information in the world at our fingertips.
Which then progressed to the next thing, to the next thing.
It used to be you had to actually go search some of that. You had to do a little work. You had to, the information might be on that shelf of a billion encyclopedias, but you had to go find it.
But it has created a level of information that you can't vet. There's too much information to know what's true.
It's too much for us to hold.
Yes.
Like we were never meant to hold that much information.
Right. So what does that do to us? And what do we do with that?
It makes us tired.
Yeah.
very tired.
It is exhausting.
Right.
That's right.
It does. It does make us tired.
And it
I think it throws us off balance.
It throws us off balance. It diminishes our ability to pay attention. I mean, there's thousands of studies that you could cite and look at that talk about our attention spans being diminished, and now we're catering to those diminished attention spans.
We are. We're doing it right now, actually.
And it affects our ability to be present with each other because we're holding too much information in our heads to navigate through that. Like we're just not
There's
able.
no space anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying all this because I'm naming what I know to be true about myself.
Yes, me too. I'll raise my hand. Yeah.
So,
And so as we pastor people.
Also one more thing. Sorry. I would say one more thing. It makes
say whatever you want.
Whatever information and facts and things that we're privy to are also, they come up against our ability to trust a God that we can't see.
Right. Because we can see everything.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good, Suze.
And so we have to, when we pastor, some principles have to come into play, especially with just modern world we live in America we live in, and understanding the principalities we're up against, and understanding the goal of division, trying to divide people, isolate people. And you see it's rampant. And if you take a step back and take a deep breath, you go, oh, I see it. And so you've said this to me a couple times where you've decided, hey, I'm just taking a break from social media. I'm taking it off my phone. I wonder if some of the disciplines of pastoring is, how about you take some of the stuff that is feeding your soul right now, that you've you've opened a channel per se, and just take a break.
Yeah.
Is that part of pastoring it, or is that?
I think it absolutely can be. I know just in my own, this is just my personal, I've talked about it on here before, but setting down social media completely for probably 6 years. Now I've re-entered
That's
the
a
fray
fast right there.
a little bit with some music stuff I'm doing, but I'm only using it literally to make a statement, and then I'm not engaging it. It's just to say, here's what's happening.
Yeah. It's called post and ghost. I
post
learned that
and ghost.
today.
Okay, I guess I post and ghost. I don't know.
There you go.
It's nothing personal, so I stay sane, right?
Right.
But that's been, for me, a healthy way to re-engage. I had to just get away from it for a while, and then I found when I did that, it allowed me to see, here's the ways that I used it or that it impacted me, had some perspective, and then I could enter in a way that I can do in a healthy way for me.
Because many times you don't know. You don't know how a culture is affecting you until you take a step away. I remember growing up in a family, and I thought everybody's family was like mine.
Yeah.
And then you go over to your friend's house and you go, you guys are weird.
Yeah.
Because you don't make dinner like we do. We don't. I went to a friend's house. They always ate watching TV. Always.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great.
I know.
Yeah.
We never, ever watched TV and ate at the same time. But the culture was different, but you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know how much whatever it is that's feeding your soul is changing actually the way that you're living until a couple of things happen. And this is where I think as pastors, we ask the questions. You go, okay, what is the biggest influence on your soul right now, or on your heart, or on your thinking? What is the biggest thing that's come into your life that causes you anxiety or fear? What is it that's feeding that?
I would say, what are you feeding?
And also what's shaping your understanding of who God is and what his role is currently in your life. And, most people will say, oh, well, the Bible, and then.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Yeah.
Right? How are you getting your information about the Bible?
Right.
This may be very, very elementary, but.
I doubt it.
But just for me, and just trying to, get my heart and head around all of this. I had to go, okay, I have to simplify. And I've just gone to, what is the greatest commandment? To love God and love people. Right? And you keep going, and it says, all the law and the prophets hang on these two things. So if we're messing this up, then none of the other stuff really matters. So I've just simplified to the point of, okay, I'm gonna do my best to love the people around me, and I know that is challenging at times today when we have different viewpoints. But I'm like, if we miss this, guys, none of the rest of the conversation even matters.
Right.
And so as I've had conversations, I've had a lot around that idea. And what does that look like? What does it, we've said a lot.
Love God, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
How hard can that be?
Yeah.
Apparently.
I mean, it's real hard, but I think we got to get back to that simple question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Suzie. Susie's got a bolt.
Bye.
See you, girl. Thanks.
Have a lovely day. So, but as you and I have talked about it, the struggle with pastoring in that environment is fear is so dominant that it requires almost an interjection of, let me pray for you. Let me put my hand on you and pray that you can let the fear subside so we can have a different conversation about this. Yeah. Because it's so affecting. You use the word paralyzed. It is the action of a fearful person in those moments. Yeah. It's how a lion gets its prey sometimes. Yeah. Is that they're paralyzed by the appearance of the lion, and it's like easy prey.
Well, and you can see how that, fight, flight, or freeze. Right. Right? I mean, we can see that all over the place right now. A lot of fight. Yeah. Kind of setting the is the tone of the day.
And I've also noticed that people move in a direction where they isolate. Mm-hmm. They don't just freeze, they isolate, or they just find people who agree with them. Yeah. And it feeds. That's what was the thing that was like, hold on at that little conversation at a family reunion. Yeah. Hey, let's talk, I really think you guys are going to be okay. Social Security will be fine for a while. I think Medicare will be fine for a while. Yeah. Let's not overreact to a few.
Well, you gently brought in another perspective.
Right.
right? I think that as pastors, if we can gently bring in other perspectives, I mean, as gently as we can, and, but.
And I don't want to minimize the idea that there are some people out there that are very afraid and very anxious.
Rightly so.
So then get yourself in a place where you can talk to a therapist or talk to a friend or talk to somebody with just a different perspective or a bigger perspective. And allow yourself to release some of the fear. So we want to invite you into that. We're praying for you. I know it's hard, and I know it's being fearful is really difficult.
Yeah, and there's a lot to this.
There is, but hopefully this will encourage you today.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Journey on My Mind. If you enjoyed it, please help us spread the word by leaving us a review and sharing it on your social media. Journey on My Mind is a production of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee. Edwin Rivera III is the show's producer with technical assistance from Randy Hansen. Grant Opperman edits the show. If you have a suggestion for a future topic or a question, you can text us at 615-861-9503. And if you would like to talk to someone about spiritual or mental health issues, you can email our care pastor, Sam Barnhart, at sam@journeytn.com.